Welcome, everybody. Really excited to have you all here. Appreciate the opportunity. A few of you that Mark and I have met, and most of you we haven't met. So looking forward to getting a chance to meet, for you guys all getting a chance to meet each other, and us kicking off, which is what is our first ever kind of summer engagement corporate advocacy team. So we're kind of pioneering new ground here for us, at least in getting students engaged, or a bigger group of students engaged in engaging companies. And we think it's something we enjoy doing. Mark and I enjoy doing a lot, but we also think that it's critical in terms of moving things forward, is to getting diverse, particularly youth, engaged and talking with companies, engaging with legislators, and all these aspects. And we're here to help you be a part of our team, helping educate you helping us all working together to move this forward. So with that, we are kicking off summer 2021, engaging businesses and influencers. So I'm going to start with just a quick overview. This is a nice little promo that Mark and his communications team at BCL put together. So here we go. Okay, so that is just a very little brief view of business climate leaders. And this is our plan, kind of what we're looking to do, at least what we've set out. As I mentioned, we're kind of learning as we go here, which is kind of what CCL and BCL does anyway, because this is new territory in terms of getting substantial environmental policy and carbon pricing policy in place in the US. So today we'll be with you for an hour today, and then we'll really looking at giving you a quick overview of business climate leaders, what we're about, what we believe in, and how we want to start moving forward with you guys. Next Wednesday, so we're going to meet this and 4 consecutive Wednesdays at this time. And again, we'll be recording the session, so if you can't make one of them, that's fine. We'll get caught up in that way. Next week, we'll dig in a little bit deeper. We're just going to kind of touch the surface in terms of how we talk about how we work with companies. But the next week, we'll start getting in that a little bit deeper and look at the different resources we have, put you into teams. We'll plan to work probably teams of 3 or 4 together, either geographically or interest areas, or maybe a mix of different things, to have you getting a chance to work with your peers as well. June 16th, we'll actually dive into and actually give an example of what a meeting looks like. It's kind of a step-by-step process in terms of figuring out who we want to making contact with them via email or phone or meeting, just to pop in and saying hi, and then setting up ideally some formal meetings where we do a little presentation to them and start engaging and developing that relationship. Then towards the end of the month, we'll kind of take a step back in terms of looking at handling questions, objections that come up with, kind of how we deal with the inevitable rejections that we get and how we position ourselves. And then the thinking after that is then we'll meet every 2 weeks, and you guys will be meeting with your teams every week going forward. Mark and I will be available. This is probably the most formal you will see us in terms of doing presentations like this. More than anything, we'll look forward to having more informal engagement with you guys. Okay. Today, Mark?
Yeah, very good. Well, yeah, let me also add my welcome and say that we're very excited to work with you in reaching out to businesses, teaching a little bit about what we know from our experiences, but we expect we'll learn from you as well as we go along. So today we're going to spend a moment just to introduce ourselves, who are Mark and Randy. We ask each of you, we'll go down the row and ask you to tell us a little bit about yourselves so we can all get to meet each other. And then we'll talk a little bit more detail about what BCL is all about, what carbon fee and dividend and the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act is all about. We'll talk about engaging trusted messengers. So not only will we become trusted messengers, but we will be talking to people who are trusted messengers of the elected officials that we ultimately want to influence. And then we'll talk some more about how we're going to do all that. And as for me, I am a retired mechanical engineer. Got my degrees at NYU and the University of Delaware. I spent most of my career in the energy efficiency and climate areas, working both for gas utilities as well as national trade associations and for the HVAC world, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. I live in Reston, Virginia. Like all of you, I am passionate about sustainability and saving the planet. And here's some of my interests: biking, reading, traveling. And you see there one of my 10 grandchildren that we are very joyful to have. Randy?
Yeah, there's a surfboard in the background there.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that's not mine.
Well, I am a surfer. Definitely one of my, well, I guess my greatest passion in terms of sports these days has been for the last probably decade. I grew up in Michigan, so not a lot of surf there, although people do, crazy enough, go surfing on the Great Lakes. But I'm now in the Bay Area. I've been here just south of San Francisco, a place called Los Altos. I've been here about 25 years. I've been with Citizens Climate Lobby, Business Climate Leaders for about 5 years now. And formerly was in the corporate world. I worked for The Economist. If you know the magazine, I worked on their different business publishing and conference businesses based in. I was a little bit in San Francisco, but most of that time was in Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong, was in the Philippines a bit before that, and then worked for Yahoo and joined Yahoo kind of in the early days of the internet and was doing international development. So had the opportunity to travel a lot as well as be part of kind of growing the internet around the world. As I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, going through graduations myself. My oldest is just graduating from Seattle University next week, and then my youngest just graduated high school, actually finished her high school at the local community college here. And there's one of my two dogs, and I love the outdoors. And that is really what brought me to here and this work. So with that, would love to turn it over to you guys to say hello and just ask you to tell us your name, what school you're going to, what you're working on there, and where you actually live, where you might be right now or where you're from, and give us a sense kind of why, obviously, the planet is in a very difficult situation, and humanity as well. So we kind of know that, but just curious what your connection is, what it is that really drives you to wanting to work on climate or policy or the two coming together. So I thought I'd try this, which may be total chaos, but we'll see. I think I'll call on Cooper first because I know he is based in Menlo Park, just up the street here in California. unless there's anybody that I don't know about from Alaska or Hawaii, I figured we'd move from West Coast to East Coast, and we'll kind of navigate that as we go. So with Cooper here in California, if you want to start out.
All right, yeah. Hi, my name is Cooper Grant. I'm from Menlo Park in the Bay Area in California. I'm a second year at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. I'm majoring in agricultural business and minoring in environmental studies. Currently, I'm living in San Luis Obispo at a house with some of my friends, but our classes are still online. Climate personally matters to me because I grew up backpacking, hiking always. I love to surf, and most importantly, I love to ski. So for all these reasons, I've always loved the environment, and I would want to work to protect it in my future.
Thanks, Cooper. We'll just, whoever wants to jump in, who feels kind of there, would be starting to move east of Cooper here in Menlo Park, California.
I'm actually also located in SLO, so I guess I'd be right there. I'm Erica. I go to Cal Poly also. I'm a third year environmental management major. Personally, yeah, I mean, growing up in California, would be hard not to appreciate the environment at least a little bit. I mean, with our coasts and just everything there is to see here. And I also love surfing, and I think especially throughout like my coursework at Cal Poly and just learning more about sustainability, it's become just like hugely important to me, and seeing the ways that we can grow and work on moving in that direction. So it's pretty exciting.
Thanks, Erica.
You guys hired a lot of people from Cal Poly. I'm Amanda. I am graduating from Cal Poly this quarter, in 2 weeks, actually now. I study communication, and I also minor in sustainability and science and risk communication. So when I first entered college, it wasn't climate change, environmental policy, sustainability wasn't at the top of my mind. But as I went through my coursework here and really grew an appreciation for our environment and also all of the social systems that are impacted by climate change and human impact on it, I realized that there's this whole section of communication that is dedicated to the environment and to climate change. And I wanted to do something really meaningful with my studies and in my career. So I'm pursuing this kind of line of work of advocacy and using communication for something important. So right now I am in SLO, but I'm originally from San Diego. So I've always grown up in SoCal, and now I'm in Central California. So
thanks, Amanda. Fantastic. SLO is well represented. That's great.
I can go next. Not in Cal Poly, but I am in California. My name is Sarah. I currently go to UC Berkeley, and I'm going to be a junior next year. I'm studying societal and environmental studies and public policy. I'm not in Berkeley right now. I'm originally from Pacifica, which is just like 20 minutes south of San Francisco, so not too far. And climate personally matters to me because, like so many other people have said, I've grown up very much appreciating the environment that I've been able to be around, but also I have a bunch of family in Hawaii, and that's where a lot of my family's originally from. And so being connected from the land and kind of deriving a lot of nutrients and life from it is a really big deal. And so as I've kind of been looking to pursue a degree that I feel passionate about, I've been able to see the intersections with so many things that I'm passionate about between climate, the environment, and all forms of justice. So that's why I'm passionate about it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I can go next. So I'm Delara, currently visiting Canada, but I'm based out of Los Angeles, California. I'm a rising junior at Georgetown University, and I'm an environmental biology major. So it like in Los Angeles, as you know, we've had a bunch of really massive droughts recently, a lot of really like stringent water regulations and you know, kind of we've had the Los Angeles River be basically dry for the past few years or so. So it's really hard not to have a sense of urgency kind of when you see like the effects of climate change happening like on your doorstep.
Thank you for that. Where are you in Canada right now?
I'm living, it's a few hours out of Toronto. It's Waterloo, Ontario.
Uh-huh. All right.
I'll go. Um, I'm Nick. I'm from Glendora, like 20 minutes from LA, or 20 miles actually. With the traffic, probably takes like an hour. But I go to Cal State Fullerton. I'm a business administration / marketing major. I'm going to be a senior this next year. I'm becoming the president of the Progressives Club at my school, and I've always just sort of I've loved animals and like hiking and going outdoors. I want to work this.
Thanks. I think we lost you a little bit there, but I think we got the gist. Thanks, Nick.
I can go next. So I'm Adriana and I go to UCLA. I'm an environmental science major. And I'm in my second year of college right now, but I actually spent my first year at UC Davis and transferred. But I'm currently at UCLA and I'm from Murrieta, California, which is also SoCal. So been in California my whole life. So that kind of ties into why it personally matters to me about the climate. I mean, I'm kind of going to echo what a lot of other people have said, and like living in California my whole life, like you not only grow to appreciate the environment and all of its beauty, but you get to see like the impact. Like, I don't know, the wildfires here are crazy. And like I've grown up with that, like right outside my house. And so like all the wildfires kind of made me interested and like made me feel like I want to do something about it. And also, I mean, I took like AP environmental science in high school, which is kind of what like started that, sparked that interest for me. And it kind of grew into the idea that this is what I want to do with my life. I do a lot of like advocacy. Activism is really important to me in addition to the science of climate and the environment. So yeah.
Great. Thanks, Adriana. So are we going to get out of California yet, or anybody else from California?
I'm also in California. I think my mic might have not been working. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, awesome. I'm actually also a student at UC Berkeley, and I guess I'm a incoming senior now because we finished our semester. But I'm studying environmental economics and policy. And just like many other people, I guess the climate matters to me because I grew up moving 9 times throughout Hawaii and California, like coastal California. So I just love our oceans a lot. And I think that's just like my biggest love in life is like the ocean. So want to do everything I can to conserve that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oceans. Are you actually in Berkeley too? Are you from Berkeley now, as well as?
Yeah, I'm actually in an apartment at Berkeley. I'll be here for the summer.
All right.
I can go next. Still in California. My name is Neha. I'm going to be a sophomore at Berklee College of Music in Boston, but I'm in San Jose, California. I'm a performance / music business major, but I'm minoring in political science. And I can't think of a specific moment where climate started to become my main focus, but it's just I loved animals and the nature, and when I learned about like nature, it was always combined with, oh, everything's melting and burning and on fire, and so I don't know how you can't want to fix that and want to reverse that when you hear about it that way.
Yeah, you guys have grown up like with this from day one. So yeah, that's why Mark and I are here, I guess. We're sorry for that. And thank you, Neha.
I'm in Colorado. Is anyone west of me? Or should I just go?
Yeah, go ahead, Allison.
Okay. So I'm Allison. I'm actually in grad school. I am working on getting my MBA at Colorado State University, and it's a focus on sustainable business practices. So a lot of what we talk about is conservation and ways that businesses can be better and ways that businesses can help in the fight against climate change. I'm actually originally from Indiana, but I've lived in Colorado now for like 5 years. And there definitely have been some really bad wildfires since I've been here. Last year, there was actually one super close to me. I could barely leave my apartment because there was so much ash like everywhere. I don't really have a specific time where I started caring more about the environment necessarily, but it almost like excites me that this is something that we can actually do something about. Like there's a sense of urgency, but there's still some time. And I really think that all of the innovative solutions that are coming out of this new environmental movement are really exciting. So I'm happy to see how this moves us forward, not just with environmental issues, but some social justice issues as well. So
Fantastic. Thanks, Allison. Let's see. East of Colorado.
I think I'm going to go next.
Yeah, please.
My name is Fatu Faye. I currently go to Brandeis University. I am majoring in sociology and environmental studies with a minor in African and African American studies. I am currently, next year I'm going to be a junior. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, but I'm originally from Berkeley, California too. That's where I was born and raised. And I've lived in Eugene, Oregon, but now I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. And climate personally matters to me because living throughout these 3 states, I've noticed that the environment is a big part of, what I would do here. And that's something I want to conserve. I've grown up in areas where environmental conservation there's just a lot more that can be done. That's how I feel about this situation. So that's why it just matters to me. I want to help out as much as I can because this planet gives life to everything. So
Full stop. Perfect. Thank you, Fatu. Anybody else? Let's see, Illinois, perhaps?
Yeah, I can go. I will usually be tuning in from Chicago, but right now I'm home in the suburbs of Chicago. But hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you. My name is Olivia Tegg. I am still in school. I'm a junior at DePaul University in Chicago, and I study environmental studies, public policy, and Spanish. I think I have about 1 more week left of my junior year. I permanently live in Chicago, and why climate personally matters to me? Well, for a lot of reasons, but I think most people are looking to make the world a better place wherever that is in their corner of the world. And I'm motivated to work in the environmental policy sphere because I've been inspired by professors and professionals who, are able to inspire me even when I feel super discouraged about the state of the planet. So, yeah, I guess that's why it matters to me.
Great. Thanks, Olivia.
Yeah, I think I might be the last one. I don't know. Hi, I'm Isabella. I'm majoring in environmental engineering, and I go to school at Columbia in New York City, and I live in New York. And I live in New York. And my passion or interest in climate stems from, I guess, my major, and that stems from, like, in high school I did some work with like wetlands, and I really liked how wetlands are the natural like water filter in like in the outdoors. So I always like kind of thought that the ecosystem's function was kind of overlooked, and I guess that connects to climate as well.
Absolutely. Everybody, anybody else? Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. It's wonderful to meet those of you that I haven't, and hear from all of you in terms of what brings you here. So we're excited to have you. So with that, Mark.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting listening to you all. We certainly have a deteriorating climate problem, but I've been around long enough that I've seen a lot of our environmental problems solved in my lifetime. So many of them, smog, in out west to some extent, chemicals, et cetera. And I was part of getting rid of chlorofluorocarbons in my business career. So I've got a lot of hope that with the right policies and right incentives that we can get this done. And of course, that's what we're all about here. So let me tell you a little bit about what Business Climate Leaders is. We are one of many action teams of CCL. Hopefully, you're all members of CCL or will become members of CCL if you aren't already. We are probably the most active, not probably, we are the most active action team in CCL. And we are part of the Grass Tops outreach lever. If you've read a little bit about how CCL goes about its business, there are various levers and Grass Tops, that is, like grassroots are. Well, Grass Tops are the influencers of the grassroots group. We're part of that. And we live to support the CCL volunteers and to help them to work with businesses of all sizes. Although mostly what we're doing is working with small and medium-sized businesses. And as we talk to people in Congress, that's really what they're focusing on. The small and medium businesses in their areas are what make jobs and what keeps their environment, their economy going. So it's really important. And we say we are building a long-term partnership for a livable world. And our philosophy in BCL and in CCL is that we are nonpartisan. We are trying to appeal to both sides of the aisle and all kinds of people. Respect and appreciation and kindness are important values that we stress. And as we have meetings, we'll stress how we show our appreciation and respect to the people we're meeting with. Democracy is certainly what it's all about. We want to do things in a democratic fashion. We focus on solutions. And as you know, we have one particular solution we'll talk a little bit more about, the carbon fee and dividend. But it's all about getting to that goal. We take the long view, but with urgency. And I would say urgency with an exclamation point these days, because there's things going on in Washington that we can influence right now, and we need to influence quickly. Personal empowerment. You are empowered as being a part of BCL and Citizens Climate Lobby. There's no hierarchy that you have to keep going back and getting permission to do things. You learn the subject, you talk to people out there, and you're empowered to do what you can do. And so everybody needs to help. Everybody needs to speak up, to talk about how we could do this better. We're a team. So hopefully you've read up on the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. This is probably just a refresher for you, but it's a very simple scheme that many economists have said it is the single most important way of getting us to change our energy habits and our energy use and to reduce them. So this act would put a fee on fossil fuels at the mine head, at the wellhead. So every bit of coal, oil, natural gas that comes out would have a fee on it that the producers would pay. It's expected that that fee would then get passed along the supply train until it gets to consumers, and it would result in higher energy costs and then less energy use, as we made decisions to move to carbon-free types of energy. Now, a carbon fee would be considered a regressive tax because it would impact lower income people more than higher income people, because more of their expenditures are on energy. So we have a carbon dividend to make this not regressive, but progressive. We take the money from the carbon fee and it all gets returned to Americans in rather equal amounts in a monthly dividend. And there'll be winners and there'll be losers. There'll be people who get more in dividends than they paid in the carbon fee. And there'll be some that'll be the other way. But most Americans would be winners, and most low income, middle income Americans would be winners through this scheme. So we do this, and then of course, you know, if price of energy goes up, then businesses would want to start thinking about leaving this country and moving operations elsewhere. And so, to be fair, we have a carbon border adjustment, and that means that if you make things here and you've paid that tax and you're shipping it overseas, you get a credit. And if you're importing things from another country where you didn't pay a tax, you would have to pay the tax here to make sure things even out. And we'll take questions and discussion. We have time at the end. So why is now so critical, as I've said before? So, you know, obviously things changed from the last administration to now. Things are moving at a very quick pace. President Biden has talked about that climate is one of his most important issues, and he's laid out how he plans to address it. The administration has presented its plan. Democrats in Congress will debate those and will come up with ideas of their own, and hopefully will vote soon to approve a climate strategy. It certainly is going to have to be done in this Congress. But as you see there is not a plan. It is not planned by the Biden administration to price carbon at this point. If you read all the things that they've proposed, carbon pricing is not part of it. That doesn't mean that it can't get in, and as part of a compromise, as both sides look at the best way to present this and to solve this, that carbon pricing can't get in. In fact, a very good chance that it can, because there's so much behind it. And if we think that if businesses really stand behind this, and there's good reasons that they should, that this could get introduced even at a late stage of the debate. But as I said, the window of opportunity may not stay open for long. There's another congressional election coming up. And so this year is really got to be it. Our bill, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, has more co-sponsors than any other climate bill, but in this Congress does not yet have any Republicans. And we need to make it bipartisan if it's going to really get votes. Ready? So why do we engage business leaders? Well, this quote from the CEO of Walmart is really says it all. Climate change, he says, is one of the greatest challenges facing the planet today, and we believe businesses are an essential part of the solution. Representing more than 200 CEOs from America's leading companies, the New Business Roundtable position on climate change reflects our belief that a national market-based emissions reduction policy, again, a national market-based emissions reduction policy, is critical to reducing greenhouse gas emissions to levels designed to work to avoid the worst effects and mitigate the impacts of climate change. So market-based emissions is what our solution is all about. Next slide. So why would businesses back this act? So first of all, and Randy has a business background, I have a business background. Companies recognize climate change is having an impact on them, and it already has had an impact on many companies, negative impacts on them. And they're hearing it from consumers, they're hearing it from shareholders. You probably heard what happened with Exxon just last week. Their shareholders revolted. Employees talk to them. Financial community is demanding that companies pay attention to the risks of climate change. And for some companies, they just do it because it's the right thing to do. They back it because carbon taxes are simple they are predictable. Predictable means so much when you're trying to invest for the future and make business strategy decisions. And this tax and carbon fee is predictable, and it's economically transparent. Carbon taxes are more efficient than regulation. Our bill would cover 80% of US emissions. EICDA gives companies the flexibility to select their own path forward. So maybe they want to put in some new technologies. Maybe they want to switch to solar. They can all do it their own way. It's just a price signal. And this is a price signal that's just going to change the market dynamics. EICDA is the lowest cost emission reduction policy. Several studies out there that will refer you to show that. We are not proposing any other new regulations. Now, there was a time when we were saying, if you put this in, you don't have to do any other regulations. Well, we're not saying that anymore. Congress wants to do other things, that's fine too, but our bill does not have any other new regulations in it. And finally, we again show in studies that this is going to stimulate the economy, over 2 million jobs created in the next 10 years just by doing this. So that's why businesses would back it. You say, well, then it's easy, right? Well, no, there's some arguments that we've heard against it. One thing is carbon pricing itself doesn't guarantee emissions reduction, right? So when you do a tax, you put it into an economic model, and you say if you increase gasoline prices by 10 cents or 20 cents or whatever, people will use much, that much less. And we've got some experience on that. But it doesn't guarantee it. People might say, I just want to drive and I'll pay 10 cents or 20 cents more. So it doesn't guarantee emissions reductions. And that's true. I mean, we think the models are good though, and we think that this will be very effective. This does not substitute for other effective measures. So in the automobile industry, having CAFE standards is still important. And so this is not a standalone measure. Some tell us the cap and trade, where you actually cap how much emissions there can be and then let people find the right price for trading those credits in cap and trade, that more directly controls emissions. Yeah, maybe, but cap and trade has many other problems, and including transparency and predictability. So businesses really like carbon pricing. Businesses can move to another country. I talked about that before, but the border carbon adjustment would take care of that. Some would say that higher taxes discourage growth. That's an argument we hear. But again, this is all coming back to people, so money is being infused into the economy. And one argument from the Cato Institute is don't do anything about climate change. Just let it happen. And dealing with climate change is going to be cheaper than all these other things. We obviously don't believe that. We think it's very short-sighted, but it's an argument that we heard. Randy, send it back to you. You're muted.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Appreciate all that. We'll have some time afterwards for questions, but just wanted to see if anybody has a specific question for Mark right now from what he's talked about.
So would one of the specific targets of CCL just right now, and also for business climate leaders, in terms of not having any Republicans on this bill, would targeting Republicans or more conservative smaller and medium businesses be an interest of our organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I'm not muted right now. Okay. First of all, Congress people love their businesses, wherever, on whatever side of the aisle they are. But, businesses tend to lean a little Republican. So they tend to have more Republican contacts and are a little more influential on the Republican side. So that's one thing. That's why businesses are really so important. The other thing is we're really looking at a lot of businesses that tend to be in rural conservative areas. So, some wineries and breweries, agriculture, and groups like that. So, many other industries as well, but some of the industries that we're looking at tend to represent a more conservative part of the country. But yeah, absolutely, our efforts have to be much more there.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
One more question, if anybody has it. Okay. So what do we want of these companies? So we're going to be, and you're going to be talking to companies, and we said up front that we're trying to develop these. I'm not showing up here on video for some reason. You can hear me, right?
We can hear you and we can see
Okay,
you.
great. We want to develop an established long-term relationship with these companies, and how we do that and what we're asking for is for them to get engaged, and engagement is on a spectrum. In some cases, I've never run across a company that said, I don't believe in, I'm in California, mind you, but I am talking with companies in different places in the country. But I personally haven't come across a company that said, I don't believe in climate change, or I don't think it's a concern. The question is, okay, what are the solutions? What are the things that we can do that aren't going to too negatively impact my business? So there's an education part of that, definitely a part of our mission in terms of what we're doing, educating them on what different options are, particularly around carbon pricing, which is our expertise, and how that we see that as a really potent solution, and how they can get involved and how they can actually help move the needle in terms of engaging with their members of Congress, particularly conservative members of Congress, and trying to move them forward. So we're going in, engaging with companies, talking to them about, from carbon pricing all the way to advocacy, and them how they actually express their support. Our biggest win is if we can get them to agree to go into a meeting with members of Congress with us. So we, Citizens Climate Lobby and Business Climate Leaders, were meeting with members of Congress at least probably 2 to 4 times a year. I think, as you might know, there's a big lobby week coming up in June. Typically, we're doing it live in DC, where we bring about 1,500 people in over the course of a day, meet with almost every member of Congress's office. But now we're doing it virtually, which has its benefits too, particularly in getting people like executives or other influencers to be part of the meetings. It's easy if it's just a Zoom meeting that they have to show up for, rather than flying to DC. So getting them into a meeting, that's the ultimate kind of win for us. Getting them to privately, engage with their member of Congress, that's fantastic too. Getting them to actually allow us to come in to be able to talk to their employees or educate them, to have them connect us with other people that they know in the industry, as well as having them endorse what we're doing, endorse carbon fee and dividend in a broad sense, endorse carbon pricing, or more specifically, endorse the Energy Innovation Act. So we're talking with companies at all levels and all sizes. So I kind of see it as there's this triumvirate in terms of organizations. You have small, medium-sized companies, which, as Mark mentioned here on the right, is a real focus for us, and what I think we as business climate leaders and Citizens Climate Lobby do most effectively is engaging small, medium-sized companies around the country, particularly getting them in specific industries, like getting bike shops or getting wineries or getting breweries engaged. Companies are part of trade groups and chambers of commerce, which is kind of an offshoot. A trade group is around a specific industry. A chambers of commerce would be a group of companies in a specific geography. As you may have noticed in the initial little BCL commercial, there was a note that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is now supporting carbon pricing, supporting market-based climate solution, which is a huge step. Whereas a dozen years ago, and even a couple years ago, they were actually actively against a lot of climate policy, including anything that was going to limit emissions. But now they're starting to move. You're starting to see some of these important organizations move. And then you have the big companies. You have the Mars Candy to Intel out here, to Google, et cetera. So big companies obviously have a lot of influence on members of Congress. They're also really hard, like moving trying to get a big freighter to turn. Although most companies, almost all companies, major companies are, doing a lot in terms of sustainability. They're getting change, moving to renewables. They're doing more things virtually, flying around less, being more efficient with their buildings, et cetera. But in terms of them stepping out of their comfort zone, in terms of stepping out on policy issues, that's where they tend to, just like our members of Congress tend to be, they don't want to do anything until they have to. Companies tend to do that as well. So as Mark mentioned before, it's shareholders pushing back, it's employees, it's consumers, it's student groups that are pushing companies forward, and they're starting to come out of the closet, as it were, around climate at least, and being willing to talk about it and be willing to say that something needs to be done. And these are some of the things that we'd like to be done, such as carbon pricing. Okay, so within business climate leaders, these are, I don't even know how many there are now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 kind of key sectors that we see as kind of key influence areas. So we have teams within business climate leaders. You may be involved in some of those teams depending on the companies that you're talking to, that we're working on. These are national teams, as it were, working in a specific industry across the country. And then within those industries, we have specific sub-industries, sub-targets, where within food and beverage, we've had really good success in targeting brewers. Allison up in Fort Collins, I think, has been part of, and there's a lot of breweries in Colorado that the CCL chapter there has been engaged in and successfully kind of working with. It's also a way, I think it was Amanda's question, in terms of getting conservatives. We started working on beer because the Asheville, North Carolina, the congressperson there, McNerney, is, I think, the number 3 congressperson in the Republican Party. And he happens to be in an area where there's a lot of breweries. So we pulled together and got endorsements and from a lot of breweries in those areas, and actually got them together and had a meeting with him. And they said he hasn't come over to actually publicly endorse yet, but it was the most productive meeting that they've had with him. So utilizing companies, utilizing their influence to engage with members of Congress. So you see in some of we just launched a coffee initiative to get coffee roasters and coffee industry people, carbon-free energy, solar companies, wind companies, getting doctors, vets, dentists, et cetera, biking industry, looking at building out kind of construction and design. So you'll see right now we have, right when I did this slide, which was less than a week ago, we had, under 11,000, we have a little over 1,100 businesses that are supporting us. You can click on here and kind of see who those are. So growing support, as well as you'll see, as Mark mentioned, we focus on businesses. They're just part of what CCL is doing in terms of getting influences, getting faith groups, getting other nonprofits, getting local governments. What just came out, Mark? Oh, Boston, the city of Boston just endorsed what we're doing. So that was fantastic.
Randy, the extreme right side of your screen is being blocked.
Okay.
Maybe it's where, yeah, that's better.
There you go. So in terms of companies, how do we kind of see who those people that we want to engage are? So it really is, who is going to be the biggest influence on our members of Congress? And in terms of looking at who that is, you're going to want to start looking at, who are the donors? And you can see there's a organization here, Open Secrets, and you put in your congressperson. Mine happens to be Anna Eshoo here in California. And you can actually come up and get a really nice list of how much money she's getting and from what industries. And you can actually look here and it'll break it down by, specific organizations. Kleiner Perkins is a big venture capital. Intuit, Alphabet is Google, Deutsche Telekom, et cetera. So there's a lot of wonderful information available in terms of looking at who kind of the key people that are helping our members of Congress stay in office and also getting their ear. Who are the biggest employers in the district, your member of Congress, where he or she went to school and what relationships they may have, trade organizations that are impactful. I know my congressperson, Anna Eshoo, is the head of the health subcommittee in the House. So those organizations around healthcare insurance are big influencers in terms of her. You're going to want to think about who you know, somebody that works at different companies, family members, your neighbor happens to work at a certain company, community people that you know, and also really look and think about businesses that you frequent. You're an active user of different websites, or you actively go to this coffee shop, or you like buying clothes from this one company. So really encourage you, a starting point is to get to know your member of Congress. So if you don't know who that is, it's very easy. Here you can type in your zip code, and it will tell you who your member of Congress is, and as well as the district, and you'll be able to see kind of what geographic area he or she covers. And then we'll get into this in more detail next week. But once you start thinking about companies that you're interested in talking to, then you're going to want to actually start doing a little bit of research about them. Kind of look on the web in terms of articles that they may be mentioned in, look at their websites in terms of sustainability initiatives they're doing. You may figure out who the owner is. If it's a bigger company, there may be specific sustainability or government relations folks that we can find on LinkedIn and other sources. You'll kind of get a sense of what organizations they're involved in. You can find whether they're environmental as well as trade associations. And also you want to see not only what they're doing, what their competitors are doing. At the big company level, Coke is very concerned about what Pepsi's doing. They want to know. And if Pepsi, which they happen to be a supporter of carbon pricing, then it's interesting for Coke to know. It gives, not only because their consumers are concerned in looking at those things, but it also gives them cover. It also cover, meaning it's easier for a company to say yes to what we're doing if they know that other companies in their area have already done it. It's part of the not sticking their neck out too far kind of philosophy. Okay, so what I'll finish.
Go ahead, Randy. I just quickly, since you mentioned LinkedIn, the next few weeks is obviously a great opportunity for you to broaden your LinkedIn network. And particularly if you plan to be doing more in your career in sustainability and climate, these could be really important people. So, I would say, make sure on your LinkedIn profile, you've got the fact that you're working with business climate leaders this summer to give you even more credibility and make it easier for you to connect with some of these people that you're going to want to speak to and influence in the weeks to come. So it's could be a great opportunity for you.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to all you guys too, and connect with you on LinkedIn, and I'll also pull together everybody's all the interns at LinkedIn so you guys can connect with each other as well. So here's the meat and bones of it in terms of what you're going to be looking at doing in this next week. So would love for you to start thinking about and start jotting down. Either you can do it on a piece of paper is fine, or you can just do it in a Google Sheet. Start thinking about companies that you're interested in, either geographically that that are in your area, that are in your congressional district. When I say congressional district, it's really where you vote. Even if you're going to school in a certain area, think about where you're actually registered to vote, because that's where you are a constituent. That's where your member of Congress is really where you can get a meeting with your member of Congress anytime. So in order to do that, think about, where you shop, who you may know in your family that might be interested in this. Even if they're not interested, it's interesting to talk to people, that may have different perspectives on this. It's interesting to engage with them and talk and understand, why they, what questions they have about this. That's the best way to learn, is in talking to and engaging with people that don't necessarily have our our perspective on this, and that's how we learn. And we may not switch them, but at least we're educating both ourselves and educating them on different options. And what you're also going to want to do is go into the Grasstops engagement tracker. This is where CCL and BCL keeps track of all our companies that we've worked with and companies that have endorsed. Here we go. And you'll see if you go in here, and I'm going to send you this presentation and all the links, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you go into the advanced search tab and then you go under your district, and if we type in mine CA, and you have to do it all to capital CA and then 18 all together. Once you figure out what district you're in, you'll see the ones in green are the ones that have actually endorsed, some businesses and some individuals, and you'll also see a list of different kind of companies that we've either targeted or have been interested in the past. And this is not definitely by no means an exclusive list or a comprehensive list, but at least it's a starting point for you to see kind of in your area, who has supported, who is supporting what we're doing. Okay. So want to make sure that you're signed up for the summer advocacy training and start that. If you've already done the summer advocacy training with CCL, as I said, you don't have to do it again, but if you haven't, it's a great way that this will be kind of a primary way for you to learn about CCL, learn about the Energy Innovation Act, and just learn about the organization and what we're doing and how to engage with members of Congress. It'll give you a broader view of just what BCL is focused on in terms of working with companies.
And since you're doing this through BCL, there should be no charge.
Yeah, make sure you do it through the link and with I think it's Student 100, the code that I sent out to you guys, and I'll do that again. But if you haven't signed up already, let me know, because I think it's blocked out and I'm going to have to get you in the side door. Okay. If you haven't already, start going through the BCL intern training manual, which is part of, joining CCL and joining BCL, as well as some background information on the business case for what we're doing. There's a great conference coming up the 12th. So I guess is that a week from Saturday? So sign up for that. Once you sign up for CCL, you'll see a link here in our community for this conference. Again, it'll be taped if you can't make it, but there's some really great presenters. It's a great way to get educated on what we're doing and just learn about carbon pricing as well as political engagement. All right, and then we'll be getting together same time, same place a week from today. So with that, I'm sorry, I was hoping that we'd have more time for questions, but I'm not going anywhere for a bit, so you're free to go in a minute. But if you want to stick around and you have questions for Mark and I, fire away. And I also will just say, promise going forward, you guys have been in school and get Zoomed at all the time. So we just wanted to cover a lot of information to start here, but going forward, we'll make it a little bit more interactive and engaging, hopefully.
Well, we're very excited to work with you, and we think we can get some good things done in the next just a few months.
I had a quick question. So my member of Congress, my House of Representative, co-sponsored the bill. So I was wondering, if I should look into maybe the senators, or if I should maybe look into a district that's near my area and try to reach out to those businesses, or what kind of steps to take.
I'll take it first, and Mark can fill in. But I would say kind of look around your area, even if in that district, of who you may know or what companies there are that you think would be influential even beyond that district. They may be influential in that they may be a bigger company that has influence beyond that district, or they may have some contact or connection with the senators. But it's good to look at the senators and just think about kind of Congress in general, what companies and individuals would have good influence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, make sure you thank your member of Congress who's already endorsed it, either in a direct email to them or through a social media post. They love to see that. It just reinforces that they've done the right thing. And of course, you've got some very influential senators in New York. So yeah, um, being able to influence them, especially Chuck Schumer, can go a long way.
I had a similar question, so thank you for answering that. Also, would it be helpful if we're already in touch with the grass tops team, like locally? Would it be helpful if I talk to them and just kind of see what their strategy is, and anybody that they've already reached out to?
Absolutely. So that'll be part of our process is
Okay.
we'll want to connect, once we kind of figure out the companies we're interested in, we'll want to connect with the local chapters near us, as well as we'll want to check with the kind of the sector teams, that are kind of those industry, if those fit into specific industries. So that's what we're going to be doing. But if you already, like you, Allison, have a relationship, then it'd be great to talk to them and say, yeah, who would, I'm working on this project with BCL, who can I help, and or what area would you like to see, a new area or a current one that I can be engaged and involved in.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So again, feel free to head off if you need to, or just want to. That's totally fine. But if you have some questions, fire away.
Randy, so
Yeah.
I'm in the Silicon Valley and I grew up with tech companies. So I was thinking as a starting point, rather than like the mammoth companies and the startups, like the in-between where they kind of have a little bit of ground. So I was thinking like KiwiBot or Nightscope, where they're kind of like medium-sized companies that have like training data and use chips. Is that a good starting point for like, I don't know how the Silicon Valley is taking this type of content. Like, are they receptive if you reach out to them?
We do, and we are, and yes, I think that's a great avenue actually, because we have relationships with the big guys from Facebook to Google, and we also have a relationship with Silicon Valley Leadership Group, which is kind of the main lobbying group for tech companies out here, and they actually support what we're doing. So, but we haven't had much. We haven't had much engagement with kind of the next level down, those companies. So those would be great to engage with. And yeah, tech companies tend to be, pretty progressive and doing a lot of sustainability work, but they tend not, they tend to be policy shy, as it were. So getting them involved, particularly if we can find some people in those companies that are passionate about climate and willing to step out and engaged. And of course, in a lot of the cases, they see like carbon pricing and just anything around R&D and new things that'll create more innovation as a really great possibility for their business going forward.
Also, so when you said to make LinkedIn connections, when you talk to companies or people at like the DNC, because I was talking to a couple of people with like policy. Is there specific channels when you talk to them, or is it okay as an intern to kind of just reach in through LinkedIn? Should I be going through a different, like a more professional channel, or is that?
You mean contact within the company?
Mhm.
So do you know people to begin with in any of these companies?
Yeah, I do. I've spoken to a couple of people before on previous matters, but like, is there a different way I'm supposed to go through CCL, like more professionally, or is that?
No, I mean, first of all, we're hoping to do these as teams,
Yeah.
so that while you propose, this company and you have contacts there, hopefully you can ask your contact who would be the best person in the company to talk to. Where should I start?
Yeah.
The president. Okay, maybe the head of public affairs. And then hopefully we can get a team of you on a call just like this to make your pitch and your presentation. So yeah, start with what you know and who you know, and then you'll work your way in from there. The hardest part is when you're trying to go for a company and nobody knows anybody, doesn't have a personal connection. But if you have one, that's great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I would just say, hold off, like, don't start contacting now. Let's just wait wait a week or two till we start, educate you on what we're doing and how we kind of go about it and the message that we're putting out there. And then you can decide, whether it's best to connect with them via LinkedIn, or you have their personal email, or just to give them a call, or, get an introduction from whoever, so, but we use all channels, it's just more a matter of what will be the most effective way to kind of reach somebody and get their attention.
And of course, always be thinking about what's in it for them. Okay, so there's going to end up in higher energy costs, but what's in it for them? And there is always something. So you've got to think about it from their standpoint, of course. Yeah. Batu, did you have a question? Yeah, good to see you again. Batu, did you have a question? Or?
No, I didn't. I was just listening to your
Yeah.
responses, but thank you.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,